Thank you very much. Thank you very much for your kind introduction. And thank you very much for everyone to be here this morning. Also morning for me, as we've said, quite early, but I've had my coffee, so I'm ready to go and happy to dive in. As you've already pointed out, the topic today will be demystifying the ethical use of AI tools in scientific writing. I've put together a bit of a session here for you. If you have questions, it would be great if you could use the Q&A tool in the webinar function. That way I can see all of the questions. You can also rank questions that others have already posed and basically upvote them. And at the end of the session, I'll make space for answering your questions that you have. And we'll just go through the list based on how many votes they have. So I'll try to monitor the Q&A in between as well if I see anything that might come up, but I'll try to take them at the very end of the session. Quickly introducing, not myself, but Editage. Editage, for over 20 years, Editage has been supporting researchers in their academic journey. Today, Editage offers a comprehensive suite of researcher solutions, from expert services to cutting-edge AI products, all designed to meet the needs of researchers at every step of the way. Editage All Access is a subscription plan that gives you seamless access to Editage services and products. With Editage Insights, you get access to a free repository of academic research and publishing resources. Editage is an offering by Cactus Communications, which is a multinational company and has partnered with some of the leading names in academia and the life sciences from around the world. And why we are actually discussing the topic here today. As it's already been pointed out, there's a growing role of AI in scientific writing, not just in scientific writing, but especially there as well. There are huge opportunities that this brings to all of us, but there are also big responsibilities because the transformation of academic writing is already happening. AI tools can assist with proofreading, with paraphrasing, citation management, many other things beyond. You can even generate whole passages of text. I think probably all of us by now have at least tried out ChatGPT, and this and similar tools are being used by researchers at all career stages. But that means we also need to consider the responsibility and integrity that we have as researchers, because AI can support but not really replace critical thinking and originality. And there are risks like unintentional plagiarism, inaccurate citations, and an abundance of over-reliance on AI-generated content. And there's a huge imperative to ensure transparency, originality, and accountability in AI use. And this really matters not just on a theoretical point of view, but also really on your day-to-day work, because you're not the only ones using AI. Journals are also really introducing guidelines on how to use it, how to disclose the use of it, and safeguards for research credibility and publication success are increasingly being put in place. And we'll try to explore some best practices to use AI responsibly, while also maintaining your academic integrity. So what we'll go through today, we'll talk a bit about, first of all, the introduction on scientific writing, but also AI. We'll look specifically how AI is being applied in scientific writing, what you can do, and where sometimes even limitations and especially risks are. Then we'll spend some time discussing on the ethical considerations that you should really be aware of and what you should be considering before you use it. And talk about the benefits of language and language editing and translation services as the counterpart to artificial intelligence that brings in a mix of human and artificial intelligence. So let's dive right in. Why are we even talking about publishing and writing? Scientific writing and publishing is a key part of our career as researchers. Its point, why it's there, is actually to facilitate the dissemination of research findings, not just to disseminate it, but also to validate it through peer review. And this is there to ensure credibility and reliability of research. And this cultivates really a culture of transparency and accountability in science. And without this sharing of knowledge, sharing of findings, it would be hard to drive innovation and even come to advances in various fields. Knowledge sharing is the key point here. Publishing also, of course, contributes to societal progress by addressing pressing challenges, also informing policymakers in many cases, Just look at what happened during COVID, where we needed to rely on researchers giving insights to the politicians. Therefore, it shapes public discourse as well and influences decision making. And not last but not least, it fosters collaboration across the world, but also across different fields. And that wouldn't be possible without publishing. Scientific publishing process. Some of us may have been there already. Some of us are still out and still need to put out the first scientific paper. But the process overall is relatively similar. However, once you get into the details of it, it can get very complicated. So we move from manuscript preparation. That means conducting the research, gathering the data, writing the manuscripts, then going into submissions, into editorial screening, peer review, very likely to go into a revision, and then hopefully leading to an acceptance and the final publication. All steps of this way are critical. All of these are handled, and we'll cover on a couple of them. I'll be there get there in a few minutes, which parts we'll cover in a bit more detail. Because first of all, we need to aware that it's not always as streamlined, and there's a couple of key pitfalls that we should all work to avoid. And it's typically challenges with text or challenges with the process. So what is still being seen that there's rejection rates right off the bat of about 50% when we go into scientific journals. So not even going into a revision, 50% or so, the paper's already being rejected. And often that's due to lack of fit with the journal scope, a failure to adhere to technical guidelines, or failures in basic language and grammar skills. And I think we can all agree that we're putting in so much work and so much time of our lives into the scientific works, the scientific papers that we put out. To be rejected on a technicality hurts, but it's also very avoidable. Same goes for basic language. We don't want to waste all of the time that we do on something minor that could be addressed beforehand. There's also an issue around plagiarism and ethical violations. So failure to adhere to ethical guidelines and especially proper citing of sources can result in just accusations or actual convictions of plagiarism, and that will damage your reputation, oftentimes irreparably. And there's also risk to submit to predatory journals. Authors may fall victim to predatory journals that exploit researchers for profit without credible peer review, which can also really impact your reputation. So within this process of scientific publishing, AI and also human intelligence, professional editing service come into play, especially in the stages of the manuscript preparation, where a lot of work needs to be done by the authors, the scientists themselves. This is really on the how to put it together, how to structure it, how to polish the language, and how to make sure that it adheres to journal requirements. Both are very strongly needed. But it's not just you as authors who are using AI. Editorial screening and also peer review is supported by AI tools. So many, for example, manuscripts undergo an automatic check. It's applicable if this is AI or if this is just a regular computer system. But the adherence to tech journal guidelines, just for example, formatting and for example, word counts, is done automatically. So an editor might not even see that, it just sees that the word limit is exceeded and rejects your paper right away. The same goes also in some applications for AI. So it's for peer review. So AI is being used by both sides, both the authors as well as the publishing houses. And our key focus today will be on the manuscript preparation, because that's the step us scientists, us as authors, are truly influencing. As I pointed out, the potential of AI really is huge, but it creates ethical issues, and we'll try to cover some of these aspects today. First of all, again, the ethical considerations. We really see a risk of plagiarism, a lack of originality in AI-generated content. It can be intentional, using AI to fabricate results, fabricate text, but also a risk of unintentional plagiarism, that by using AI tools, we unintentionally get too close to other sources, what the AI has been trained on, without properly recognizing the contributions of others, and therefore running into plagiarism. Very often, the first topic that you can see it is inaccurate or fabricated citations when you rely solely on AI. The AI hallucinates, the AI creates references that look correct, but are not existing, are not correct, or point to the different points. And the over-reliance on AI may also impact your style of working. This may reduce critical thinking. It may reduce academic rigor. If you outsource your critical thinking skills as a researcher to an AI, there's a lot of what makes you a scientist gone and moving out of your job description. However, there's a huge potential as well. It's amazing how efficiently you can write if you use AI tools. You can write faster, you can proofread faster and better, and you can also have it truly handle citation management and speed up that oftentimes very laborious process. Also levels the playing field in some sense, because most of us are not native English speakers, while English still remains the language of science and research all around the world. So supporting non-native speakers in improving their writing, their text, in clarity and also in readability can be a huge benefit. And it will really allow you to handle much larger amounts of background data, like literature reviews, summarization of complex research topics, and lets you really bring these different sources, different amounts of literature together in an understandable way that will help you by being able to just understand much more and read much more efficiently to bring that into your daily work. So how is AI being applied in scientific writing? When we hear AI, probably most of us will start in this generative AI tool line here. Who has not heard of most of these tools? Well, ChatGPT is probably a household name by now, but almost every tech company has their own model now. When we look at Gemini or Microsoft Copilot, Claude, and then a couple of weeks ago, I had to add DeepSeek to this line as well. So many tools are out there. ChatGPT is the most common household name. I'll probably use it as a stand-in for different large language models today, just because we're probably most of us may be familiar with it already. But there's also a lot of other AI tools that have not seen as much hype around it in the news and media recently. Grammarly, PaperPal, our discovery site, Mind2Graph. These are all more tailored tools that are not general purpose models, that are not general purpose text tools, but much more focused on their application. For example, most of these that I've listed here, these are really just examples. There's a huge universe out there focused on how researchers, how scientists work, and their needs, especially in academic writing and academic research. So general purpose models to the more specific ones, there's very much differences in the functionality, but also later on in the quality of the output. Because as you can imagine, a model like ChatGPT that is trained on basically everything that is out there in the internet, basic text that tries to cover a range from creating marketing material and creating basically everything, cannot be as specific and not as knowledgeable, or seem to be as knowledgeable in a very specific scientific discipline. Because even oftentimes we get so specialized in our scientific discussions that we're not even that we need to have someone have explained certain terms to someone in the same discipline before we can even move beyond that. So having a purpose-built model for scientific writing, for scientific research, makes a lot of sense, because it massively improves the quality if the training is done right and not training for a general purpose model. Because in the end, what can we apply it for, and where it makes sense to apply AI tools is really where our AI or where our algorithm-based machines or software better than humans. And that's, summarizing it, is the last bullet, the boring stuff many times. It's checklists, it's structure, it's adherence to standards, automated cross-checking, but also language quality and semantic overlap. These are things that machines, in this case really for AI, do very well. They are not as strong as humans, of course, in creativity, in creative processes, and also in making certain leaps from one topic, from one concept to another. This is something that we still don't know why it makes it special, but it's something that we as researchers need, something that we as researchers need to keep. And it's one of our key qualities and key skills that we have honed over the years. So in academic writing, very specifically, what can we do and how can we apply AI efficiently? Where can it make sense? And that's especially, first of all, grammar and style improvement. Many of these tools can automatically fix grammar, spelling, and improve clarity of text. Paraphrasing and rewriting, if you want to keep the same meaning but phrase it in a different way that might fit better to your style, or for example, shortens the amounts of words that you want to use. These tools are very good at this. Also extremely good at summarization and literature review, because extracting the key insights from papers and not just long text findings can be very helpful and allows you to digest much more knowledge in a shorter amount of time. Citations and reference management has been done by software for a long time. Just look at all the open source or proprietary models out there, and I think of EndNote, Zotero, Mendeley, and all of these other reference managers. It's practically impossible by now to write a paper without a reference manager software, because importing citations and being able to reformat them in any of these many styles of citations out there is basically always done by software already. AI is also very good at language translation and localization. So the translation quality has been massively improved over the last years, where it's now basically possible to have real-time translating apps for a lot, if I don't want to say any language out there. It's not quite any out there yet, but for very many languages, it is possible now, and AI tools are doing this extremely well and extremely fast. And this can really help you in the writing process, especially if you're not a trained native English speaker. It allows you to switch back and forth between English and have the tools, for example, automatically fill in the things that you would have shared in your native language if you have an issue at a certain point in the sentence. There's also one thing that has been now possible with the advent of the new large language models, and that's research assistance and idea generation. Because you are now able to use a chatbot, a seemingly knowledgeable chatbot, for research assistance and idea generation. And it's really useful to use an AI tool, a chatbot, as a sparring partner to try have it to come up with ideas that maybe you hadn't thought of before. It's not replacing you, it's not telling you what to do, but it can give you some starting points to agree or disagree on what could be interesting questions and what could be potential structures for papers and so on. So using that as a sparring partner, as a basically partner to play around with ideas, can really work well for you. So again, the benefits here really for academic writing: it saves time, it improves the quality, enhances clarity, especially for non-native speakers. That's something that everybody struggles with, even native speakers, to really have clear writing in an academic setting. And it massively reduces the effort that you need to put in, for example, for formatting citations and so on. But again, be careful. There are risks. You can't just use the outputs out there. Plagiarism and misuse can be a critical topic. Fabricated citations often pop up. This is something that needs to be checked. That's a inherent issue with basically all of the large language models. AI may reflect biases and misinformation that are out there. It does not critically fact check the sources that it has. Over-reliance on AI can weaken critical thinking and your writing skills, and a lack of transparency can also be a big risk. So really, where does it hurt and where does it help? The situations where it adds value really are especially in a phase where you're in an early draft, where you can use AI to generate initial drafts, generate especially outlines. It's something that's very good at, based on only a few keywords and ideas. And it basically moves you from having an empty word page and that cursor blinking at you when you start to write, to having at least a rough outline, a rough idea of something there, and then you can move on. That doesn't mean that it's the final one. That means you have something that you can improve, something you can move around, something that you can change. And then in the second stage, once you've worked on most of your manuscript, it's very good at proofreading and improving the clarity of your writing. So catching grammar mistakes and making suggestions to improve the clarity and conciseness of your writing. But let's take a closer look at the ethical considerations that we need to really keep in our minds when we talk about using AI in scientific writing. Important quote: anyone who doesn't take truth seriously in small matters cannot be trusted in large ones either. And that's something that we should use as a guide for the entire discussion on ethical considerations here, because that's the truth. If you don't take small things seriously, if you try to cut corners in this regard, and this shows there's a huge question of where else you've been cutting corners, and that puts your entire integrity in question. But what is that academic integrity? And that's the thing we want to keep intact by really following these ethical considerations. Academic integrity is the commitment to and a demonstration of honest and moral behavior in an academic setting. It's most relevant at university level when it relates to providing credit to other people when using their ideas. So really acknowledging the contributions of other people, showing where we are building on the shoulders of others, and the failure to do so is considered plagiarism. So to be simplified, very much generalized, be honest, credit the contributions of others, and others in this case includes AI. There's also a movement in the journal publishing and the scientific publishing community as well, that, well, AI tools are here, ChatGPT is already being used. We need to find a way to deal with this. We need to put policies in place. We need to put guidelines in place. So basically, all of the big publishing houses, you'll see the names here, have published guidelines, policies on the use of AI in manuscripts. And again, it is typically not seen that ChatGPT, just as a stand-in for many other tools as well, is listed as an author. But it is oftentimes, practically always, required to disclose where AI tools were used in the preparation of the manuscript. For example, here, methods or acknowledgement sections. So it needs to be transparent that it was used and where it was used. But again, here, it really depends on the journal. It's very important. Check beforehand what the journal policies are before you use the tools when you use a manuscript that you intend to go to that journal. When we talk about the ethical use of AI, we really need to talk about 3 pillars that are critical to this. The first one is transparency. I've quickly touched upon that. It means disclosing AI assistants and the role it has played in the writing process. This is really about honesty and openness. Second part is about accountability. No matter what you do with AI, your own name will be on the list. You will be the author of the paper, and that means you are accountable and responsible for the content of what is on there. Your name is on it, and using AI tools does not absolve you of that responsibility. No matter what's the output, you're responsible for what is there under your name. And it's also about originality, preserving your own unique voice while using AI. And it means having AI complement you, but not replace you and your creative work, not just in the writing process, but also all the way how you approach your academic work. So why is the transparency so critical? It ensures academic integrity. Again, here it's about recognizing the contributions of others and disclosing the use, and also precisely where it was used, helps maintain the trust in research by preventing misrepresentation of authorship, but also maybe for data generation as well. It already promotes that accountability because it allows readers and reviewers to evaluate the accuracy and reliability of the AI-generated content. And therefore, it supports ethical standards. Full disclosure prevents potential misuse of AI. And this really is, again, about complementing rather than replacing human input in scholarly work. Second pillar, it's really important to follow that because no matter what the AI does, you are responsible as the author for whatever is the output. So there's a chance that AI may rephrase content in ways that are too similar to the original text, inadvertently, by accident, retaining the core structure or phrasing, and this can be this case of inadvertent or not intended plagiarism that can happen. There can be lack of proper attribution. AI-generated paraphrases might not provide a necessary citation for the original source. It just leaves out the source while it's still using this uncredited use of others' idea. And also can subtly repeat ideas. It's a danger that comes up as well. By paraphrasing, it might replicate ideas that are too closely linked to others that have been there before. And this may also be flagged as plagiarism, even though you did not intend it. So no matter what the output is, if you use the tools, you still remain responsible to check that you've not been copying of others, even without the intention, but because the AI copied of others non-intentionally. And on the topic of originality, there's a couple of ways to ensure that you're not getting lost in this output of AI tools, that it's still your key contributions that are being shown. First of all, is if you use AI tools, if you have AI generated content, carefully read through the generated content and make adjustments. Do this with your own writing style and tone. AI should only enhance your voice, not completely replace it. If you use AI to assist with tasks like proofing and generating ideas, add your personal insights, and that's especially your own analysis, your own interpretations, and your own original thoughts. That these are presented and they stay in the text, and the AI does not remove and edit them out. For the core ideas that you do, don't rely on AI too much. Use it as a sparring partner maybe, but your work as a researcher is your work and your ideas that need to shine. If you have suggestions that you get from the AI, customize them. You can almost always tailor them. You don't have to copy everything that the AI suggests, and ensure that the content reflects a unique perspective. And then also try to keep your voice, your tone, your language consistent across the paper, different sections and different parts, where sometimes AI has been involved more or less. So best practices, really, to make this concrete, what we can do with the AI and what we might need to stay away from. Always be transparent. That's #1 rule, and probably also the last rule. Always disclose when AI tools have been used in your work to ensure transparency and accountability. Doesn't cost you much. It's a short attribution, and it's really, really important. Always verify the AI-generated content that you get from tools. Check it for accuracy, for reliability, and alignment also with your own ideas and views. Ensure proper attribution. So ensure that even if you paraphrase some things, that the proper acknowledgement of sources and citations has been done, and also that the citations have been done correctly. Maintain your academic integrity. Never use AI to fabricate data or plagiarize content. Always adhere to standards of academic honesty. This is actually no-brainer. This should go without saying. Don't use it to fabricate your data, fabricate results. Avoid an over-reliance though. AI is a tool. It's a useful tool to have. It's not the only thing that you can use. Don't let it replace you. Don't let it replace your critical thinking skills, because your own unique ideas, your own analysis and interpretation is what remains critical to the content of the paper, and it's not taking over your entire job. It's really just helping you speed along some things. Respect privacy and confidentiality. Make sure you use tools that comply with ethical guidelines, especially when we talk about data privacy. Also, when you are using it, try to ensure that you're not putting sensitive or confidential information into the tools, because most of them can keep your data for training purposes. So be careful that you don't unintentionally breach any data privacy requirements that you have. Just for example, think of patient data. That would be highly sensitive. Incorporate human oversight, always apply human review, and always apply human judgment to ensure AI-generated content aligns with your intentions. Don't let this control be taken away from you by the AI tools. Ensure fairness, that really means being careful about biases that might exist in AI tools, and use it responsibly. Stay within ethical boundaries and don't use it for applications that might lead to harmful or unethical outcomes. And this is not a one-time thing. You need to continuously learn and adapt. To stay updated on the best practices for AI usage, stay updated on what kind of tools are being used or would rather not be recommended, and also keep following the ethical guidelines. This might be from journals, but also might be from your institutions directly. Many of these are also issuing policies on the use of AI in academic writing, and often also in teaching and university work as well. So stay updated. These rules are rapidly changing, and also the applicability of these tools is rapidly changing. It's a really, really amazing time to look at AI right now because the development is just so crazy fast. And to make it very explicit, a couple of examples where AI can be used ethically and where it shouldn't be used. Some of these should be very clear, but examples for things you should never ever do is rely on AI overly for writing entire sections. Absolutely no fabricating data, no plagiarism via AI-generated content by just paraphrasing the ideas of others without proper contribution. Losing the sense of citations and not mentioning that you're using AI tools. Where can you use it pretty well? Generating ideas, use it to bounce around ideas like the sparring partner, and narrowing down the scope of a topic really using the summarizing functions, researching additional sources, researching a topic that you don't know much about, outlining of the manuscript and the paper, and also in many cases, especially in the introduction, creating introductory text for certain topics, summarizing many different sources, summarizing the views in the field. However, very important is what's in the brackets, only with your review and your improvements to it again, because this remains essential, not to use it for the entire text, but really bringing in your own ideas as well. That means expanding, but it also means reviewing that everything is something that you would also support, that you would also write in this way. Plagiarism is one of the big topics where AI is playing a role. Again, here it's an arms race. People are using AI tools to create text, and other people are creating AI tools to detect the text that has been written by other AI tools. It's kind of crazy in the sense there are several plagiarism detection tools out there, but now also dedicated tools that estimate the probability if an AI wrote text or not. These tools are not perfect. They're not always reliable in both directions. So they might miss text that has been created by the AI, but it also might flag human written text as a product of an AI. So they're not perfect yet, but many institutions will incorporate these tools into their workflows, and that means you might inadvertently run into an issue where some text might be characterized as written by an AI or not, and you might need to explain yourself. And that's why, again, the attribution and the proper mentioning that the use of AI tools has happened is very important. To summarize the section, please always think of the 3 pillars. This is really what you should be taking away from today. Key issues and the key topics to consider are transparency, accountability, and originality. So disclose using an AI, take responsibility for the output, no matter where it came from, if it's coming from an AI tool or from yourself, and make sure you're still in there. Preserve your own unique voice and your insights. Use AI to complement you, but not replace you. I'd like to also lead over into a topic of language editing and translation services here, because it's like I've seen AI is complementing our skills, complementing what we're doing, but it's not replacing us. And even more, if you think of a support system that you have as an author, it used to be less AI-based and more human intelligence-based, let's put it like this. That doesn't mean it's a yes or no for both. It's actually a balance of both can be perfect, because bringing combining professional editing and language services, people that really know writing in and out, do this every day, that know the field, that know how to bring out the ideas that they have with proper attribution, is again on a similar level. And if they're working together again and again in many, many places, it has been shown AI can sometimes outperform humans. It can sometimes not do so. Many times humans stay ahead. But what's almost always better than either of these is a combination of human teams and artificial intelligence tools. Because it's this complementariness of AI and humans also comes here into play with professional services, because AI is a powerful tool. It can assist in generating content, identifying patterns and proofreading, but it's only part of the process. And the human expertise complements us very well. The AI can handle the repetitive stuff, but the editors can really focus on nuanced judgment, on context and understanding, and bring in expertise as well. And then collaboration between AI and writing professionals can be a way to deliver very high accuracy, very high clarity, and high quality academic writing, while still being pretty fast. And human experts can really understand and ensure the ethical and contextual considerations much better. And in the end, combining AI speed with the precision of professional editors can help produce very polished, very insightful academic work that meets all standards. And with that, I'd like to spend just a little bit of time on benefits of language editing and translation services, but also on some of Editage's offerings here. So the purpose of professional editing service is to enhance the clarity, improve coherence, and the quality overall of the writing. Also to ensure adherence to style guidelines. Again, it's a simpler style check, but really it's on the increasing the chances of publication. So really improving the chances of acceptance by a manuscript can change massively by using professional editing services. It's important they support you, but they don't do all the work for you. They are not, in the end, the authors of the paper. Professional editing services support the creation of a manuscript. They enhance the objectivity in this and provide their expertise and offer fresh insights. But ultimately, you as the author remain responsible. You have the intellectual ownership of the paper. You are responsible for the accuracy of the content. And you don't have to do everything the editors say. You can incorporate the feedback selectively. Ultimately, you decide which suggestions you want to accept or reject. You should consider hiring professional editing services in case there's a couple of things. This is really a starting point to ask yourself, if English is not your first language, if you lack confidence in your writing skills, even before you've started, is it really for a high stakes publication? Are you on a very tight deadline and need to get this done with a high quality still? Or if you need very specialized editing expertise? If you have a yes to any, or especially if you have a yes to many of these questions, it should be interesting to consider. If you want to choose an editing service, look for a couple of points. So you need editors with long and high expertise and experience, with a high quality of the editing that, for example, from samples and testimonials that they've provided, that the turnaround time that they promise you offers your timelines as well. You can check for cost and value. So also not just direct pricing and quality, but also for transparent pricing structures and what they offer you as additional added services as well. Important is their reputation and reliability. Check reviewers' rating credentials to ensure that they're really professional and trustworthy. Assess the ease in communication collaboration with them. Are they responding quickly? Are they clear in their communications and willingness to address their concerns? Are they adhering to ethical standards? We've seen how important this is today. Can they offer customized editing services that are really tailored to your specific needs? What kind of guarantees and revisions are you getting, and corrections after the initial process? And are they offering additional services that may enhance the value for you? Going back to the point of AI tools that can be used in tandem with language editing services, I'd like to point out a couple of offerings of Editage, especially PaperPal, RDiscovery, and Mind2Graph. All of these are pretty cool AI tools, and I'll quickly introduce them to you. And access to these is included in Editage Plus, where you have access to ethical AI tools for your research. Editage here is really conscious about these topics, committed to driving research integrity, advancing research outcomes, and improving the productivity of researchers. Again, here, basic principles: follow the guidelines. It needs to be transparent, it needs to be ethical, and it needs to be safe to use. First of all, let's start with PaperPal. PaperPal is an AI writing tool directly trained for academic writing. Some cases can be seen as similar to ChatGPT, but in many cases it's much, much better for this because it's really focused on the way of academic writing. It's trained on academic data, trained on academic publications, and therefore can be much closer, but goes way beyond that. It comes as a Word plugin and also works in your browser. And you can really, in the process of writing, really start from the beginning and assist you every step of the way. You can create outlines in coach mode just to have a starting point to start, and really only a few minutes based on what you want to do. It helps you assist you in the outline, but it doesn't replace you completely. You can very easily rewrite text that you don't find good yet, rough text, in a variety of ways: paraphrasing, trimming, make it sound more academic, also using synonyms. Especially something I think everybody has struggled with is getting a text to fit into a word limit. And that's also what it's pretty good at, really cutting down on unnecessary words, reducing the length of a text without changing its meaning. Also bringing in some variety if that is needed, and adopting a formal academic tone to really match that to the typical style that we see. And this is done in short chunks. So this ensures really that the user can review this easily, quickly, and therefore not overlook and stay very much in the loop. It suggests text that could come next, similar to what we could see from a LLM tool. And you can choose a variety of custom instructions on what you need to work on next. It can also help you search the vast pool of academic knowledge, basically giving you a chatbot functionality, how you can that lets you ask questions and basically get some information back that is backed by real published academic resources without creating AI hallucinations. You can quickly save citations, put these in the library as well. We have included citation management, and output these into over 1,000 styles of citation formatting. PaperPal has often been compared to Grammarly, which is probably the most known grammar check, grammar improvement, and language improvement tool. It is PaperPal in this regard has been tested against it, and it is better at error detection for academic writing, just because, again, here Grammarly is an all-purpose tool, works for all kinds of text. PaperPal is specifically built for academic writing. That's a huge difference. Another tool I'd like to introduce is RDiscovery. It is helping you in your review and your research of literature and literature review. It helps you stay on top of the developments in your field. So you receive personalized recommendations and alerts on mobile, email, or web. So you can stay up to date on topics that you are interested in with recommended articles. Also uses, for example, Chrome plugin, other tools to support you from anywhere, anytime. It lets you also search again using an AI tool similar to this, where you can not ask for search for keywords, but you're asking a research question, and this will provide an AI-generated answer for you, backed by a library of over 250 million academic papers. So very strong here, and there's been a huge amount of searches using this tool actually recently. You can get summaries of the paper. Also, not just the full text, also summaries that might be interesting to you. And what's pretty cool is you can also get it on audio. So it can generate audio summaries for you for the papers that you're interested in. So it's very easy to consume research by audio, or also getting it as shorts and in other kind of formats. So stay up to date with your research. Literature landscape, which is rapidly changing. This is a pretty cool tool that employs a lot of different features that make it easier for you to digest research. The last tool here is Mind the Graph. It generates illustrations, both AI-generated illustrations as well as, say, more classical approaches. And it's really focused on academic kinds of illustrations. So it's a simple drag and drop with a lot of customizable templates, with a lot of customizable icons, illustrations, so on already included. You can create graphical abstracts, you can create simple illustrations, slides for presentations or posters, and has already a huge library of reusable illustrations or shapes that you can reuse again, over 80,000 already. All right, coming to the conclusion of today's session. First of all, on the scientific writing and use of AI. What I'd like you to take away from today is that academic writing, I don't think I have to convince you, is an integral part of the scientific process and of your daily work as a researcher. The use of AI tools here is rapidly increasing, and there are many, many tools out there that cover many different applications. There are huge benefits to using it, but there's also serious risks and downsides, so consider them and be careful. It's important to stay updated on what's out there, but also on what the policies are regarding AI use. So stay up to date and be proactive about learning more. When we talk about the ethical use of AI in scientific grading, remember your academic integrity. It's the commitment to and a demonstration of honest and moral behavior in an academic setting. And again, if we can trust you on the little things, how can we trust you on the big things, as Albert Einstein put it? Remember the three key pillars, sorry for that, of ethical AI use: transparency, accountability, and originality. These 3 points should always guide your decisions, your considerations around the use of AI. And lastly, on professional editing services, they can improve the process of academic writing and manuscript preparation, and they can increase the chances of publication. If the stakes are high, or if you're not confident in your writing skills, you should at least consider using such services. Again, here it's important to be transparent, and the responsibility for the content will remain, again, with you as the author. In the end, it's your name on there, and you should be responsible. And that's something that is probably the key summary of the session. You're the author, you are responsible, and you cannot just shed yourself that responsibility. So be careful, consider these, but also use the options and the benefits it can bring. With that, I'd like to thank you for your attention, and I'll switch over to the Q&A section now. So I see the first questions. First one here is, should the AI be listed as a co-author in research papers? Why or why not? The typical view that currently persists is that it should not be listed as a co-author. It's not seen as bringing original contributions. It's seen as a tool and helps you to write. So you need to attribute it. You need to cite somewhere that you're using AI. It's sometimes in the method section, sometimes it's in the acknowledgement section. So it needs to be somewhere in there. Typically, ChatGPT, other AI tools are not listed as co-authors. This, again, very importantly, depends on the institution guidelines and the journal guidelines. Please check them before, but mostly it's not used, not shown as a co-author. Again, here, why not? It's not the contribution that they're bringing in. Just because it's cleared up your language and helped you in the structuring doesn't mean it created the work or it contributed to a massive chunk of the intellectual work that's behind the paper. Paper is not writing in the end. The paper is research, it's data, it's ideas, it's analysis, and that's typically not what the AI has been used for, and it's not doing that on its own. How can biases in AI tools affect the quality and credibility of scientific research? That's a key topic. Data AI tools are not fair. They're not representing the truth. It's statistical models that are trained on data, very simply put. And that data in itself can be skewed. It's very, very hard to remove biases from this. And it's something that you need to aware of during and before training of the model. And it's something that it's practically impossible later on to get rid of. And this bias can really, really destroy quality. Some examples that was not specifically on the LLMs or something like that. A lot of companies a while ago thought it would be great to use AI to screen applicants. So what kind of people would be best fitted to hire into our organization? Weird thing, suddenly the company started hiring only males because that's the data that they trained on. They didn't identify good candidates. They did just identify candidates that they had used in the past. And that didn't lead to very inequitable hiring practices because the existing bias towards male applicants was just continued. It was not changed. Even removing a lot of these labels did not work that well because it could be reinferred again from other labels. So that just didn't work well. And this also goes to the scientific research. If you let AI go too deeply into the analysis here, it will use its training, and that training is not necessarily the right data and the correct based ground truth to compare something to. Probably even much more applicable in, say, more social sciences driven, because AI tools, the current ones that are being used, just as an example again, ChatGPT, it's basically trained on the entirety of the internet that is out there. Anything that's scrapable, any kind of text that they could get their hands on, that's what has been used for training. And do you know how much stuff is on the internet that's not true, that is not right, that is very biased? And this is also gone into the training. So don't trust it in that regard. Can AI-generated literature reviews and summaries be considered original contribution? That's actually an interesting question. Probably not the perfect person to answer this, because this goes very deep into where does the contribution of a researcher or the definition of a researcher begin or not. Literature reviews and summaries, in my opinion, now this is not just a personal opinion, are not original contributions. This is something that is a basic skill that we need to learn as a researcher, because we need to take in a lot of information. We are confronted with a huge field of knowledge, a huge basis of knowledge even before we start our work. And we need to understand that, we need to take that in, digest that, and make that palatable. And for us, first step is, of course, to have this mental picture of the field then in our minds. The second part is to bring that onto paper. And that part is technically not the critical part. It's creating this understanding. So this is something where, first of all, say if it's a literature review and summary would not count as an original contribution. Then again, something can be said on this as well, because in the summarization, in the cross connection of different sources and different fields, sometimes there can be unexpected links made that people have overlooked. Very simple, it's AI tools that summarize and things like that can be weird in the sense that you can get very unexpected results, which can be bad, but which can also be good, because sometimes a connection, for me in the biological space, oftentimes it can be seen that a certain disease process is only studied in one field. Let's say it's really important in cancer research, but there's nothing known about similar features, for example, that might also play a role in infections, just as a very high level example. And AI has been shown that it can uncover some of these hidden connections that people did not have an idea about before. It can find interesting connections and interesting concepts that can, for example, cross-apply across different fields. And that is something where we get into a realm where it gets interesting, because if that's the starting point of a large investigation, it could be something for contribution. But with my own personal view, the current stage and the current level of understanding that AI tools show, would not call it an original contribution, as they're mostly stochastical, mostly statistical predictions of words, not a connection of underlying concepts. How can we teach the AI to find legit and credible information as their data supposed from trusted research articles and not predatory journals, any other fabrication resources? That is very hard. It is very important, and that depends on the user of on the creator of the model. Again, here it's hard to teach it, but it's you need to train it in the beginning. If you use that, and the organization or the person putting together the AI model that would do that work needs to provide a training data set. And this ideally should be a list of trusted journals. And at the same time, maybe even blacklisting certain predatory journals. Again, here we're going to different things that might be bad. Research in a predatory journal might not be up to standards, but there still might be some truths in there sometimes. But it's not undergone full peer review, so it's for the quality purpose probably likely to just have it out of that. On the other side, you already see then again a bias, because somehow now suddenly the organization training a model decides who is telling the truth and who isn't, which can be a daunting position to be in. And it's not sometimes the best suited people that would be in that position. So if something like that would be put together, it would require a list that the academic community as large agrees on what could be trusted sources and what wouldn't be. And then again, here, this needs to be extremely transparent on what it was trained and who has decided on what needs to be trained. So again, it's possible, but it requires pre-selection on the training data set, which can introduce a bias and requires transparency and alignment on what constitutes truth and what constitutes credible research. All right, I don't see any further questions. So with that, I'd like to close the session. Thank you very much for your attention this morning. Hope you learned something that you can take away to your daily life, and hope to see you again soon for any of our other sessions. Thank you very much. Have a great day. Bye-bye.